هل نبدأ؟
Shall we start?
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
May the blessings of God be upon you all and a blessed Ramadan to you all, friends, participants, students, and all our followers on the social media. Welcome to a new lecture by the Strategic Studies Unit at the Arab Center. Our lecture today is on the drones and the performance of the Turkish drones and Turkey and its impact on warfare. Gloria Shkurti Özdemir is our speaker today. She is a researcher at the SETA in Turkey and an assistant editor at Inside Turkey. She specializes in the applications of artificial intelligence in armies and warfare through studying the competition between the United States and China regarding this dimension, although she will focus in today's lecture on Turkey. Gloria Özdemir has also other publications to her name on the security radar, the geopolitical scene in Turkey in 2022, and the illegality of the drones war. Dr. Gloria Özdemir today will focus on the Turkish drones or unmanned aerial vehicles and the story behind them. Before I give her the floor, I would just like to quote, in fact, the British Defense Secretary Ben Wallace in a conference in July 2020. I will say it in English so you can follow me in English. This is on the Turkish intervention
in Syria and its use of electronic warfare, lightly armed drones, and smart ammunition to stop tanks, armored cars, and air defense systems in the tracks. According to reports, Assad regime suffered heavy losses: 3,000 soldiers, 151 tanks, 8 helicopters, 3 drones, 3 fighter jets, 8 aerial defense systems, and 1 headquarter among the other military equipment. End of quote. Before the end of quote, this is Ben Wallace again, even if only half of these claims are true, the implications are game-changing. End of quote. هذا النموذج في سوريا تكرر شيء منه.
This module in Syria was repeated in Libya and also in the Armenian war with Azerbaijan, and we saw the impact on that to a certain extent in the Ukrainian war. In this context, I will give Gloria a chance to tell us the story behind the Turkish drones. Please go ahead. The floor is yours, Gloria.
Thank you very much, Omar, for this invitation. I'm very glad to be here with you today. So as you mentioned, I will talk a little bit about, I will provide a historical background on the Turkish drone industry to follow later by the cases where it has been used in Syria, in Libya, in Azerbaijan, and in Ukraine lately. And lately, at the end, I will focus a little bit how this drone diplomacy that they usually mention, how this changed the Turkish role in the region, and also how it impacted the regional security or stability, let's say. So starting with the historical background, I can say that indeed in the last years, the Turkish-made unmanned aerial vehicles, or as we call drones, have become the center of the attention. And in many cases, as you mentioned previously, it has be considered as a game changer, and at the same time it has had an impact on Turkey's role in both regional and global affairs. Just to provide a little bit of background, indeed, the Turkey's history with the drones has started approximately 3 decades ago, and it was impossible at the time for Turkey to produce its own military drones, so it was focused on a way how to procure these drones from outside. And it started first of all with the British target drone BTT-3 Banshee, produced by Megid, and it was procured in 1989. Later, after that, Turkey included its own military inventory drones from Canada Air, CL-89, sorry, and at the same time, it bought some drones from United States, produced from General Atomics, mentioning here GNet 750 or 1 GNet, and also Israel's Heron, of course. But here it is important to, something is very important in here, the fact that in 2018, Turkey requested to buy US-made drones, the ones that we all know, Predator and Reaper. Turkey wanted these drones in order to use in its fight against PKK. However, the request was not accepted from the Congress, and in 2014, Turkey requested an armed version of these drones. However, an agreement was not reached as well. So approximately after 8 years after this request, in 2016, Turkey stated that we do not need anymore the American drones, and the fact that the US restricted the sale of this weapon system to us, it had driven Turkey to focus in developing its own technologies. So having said that, in considering also the persistent threats such as the PKK in its border, Turkey became very well aware of the importance of the drones, and for this reason constantly it was working on a way how to produce its own drones. Indeed, it started in 1992 with a drone which is known as they say in Turkey, EHA-X1 or UAV-X1, let's say. And then it was followed by several other examples or produced drones like Turna Keklik, which was produced in 1996, or Pelikan Baykuş in 2003, and so on. But here I would like to mention 2 cases which became like a turning point for Turkey, which was the production of Anka drone. The project started in 2004. It had its first flight in 2010 and entered the inventory of the army in 2018, and also the mini UAV Bayraktar, which was launched in 2006 and 2007. So these two examples, the Anka S and Mini Bayraktar, were considered, as I mentioned, a milestone and turning point in the advancement of Turkey's drones program and the defense industry, because this paved the path to other developments and to one of the most important drones right now for Turkey, which is Bayraktar TB2, developed by Kale Kalıp and Bayraktar Makina in 2007. It has been used from the Turkish Air Forces for several years right now, since 2014. And indeed, TB2 was also the first drone domestically produced, which was also exported in other states, including here, for example, Qatar and Ukraine. I will go a little bit to the export issue later. But here, indeed, I need to mention the fact that TB2 is considered to be a revolutionary development among the military strategists, as it's largely affected not the warfare, it's only the warfare itself, indeed, but it has proved to be very effective and quite decisive in several conflicts. So in here, the Turkish TB2 have paved the way to what some experts call also the second drone age, where the US, it's not anymore the main dominant country who develops and uses the drones. Furthermore, what makes the TB2 drone different from the drones that were produced from the United States, from China?
Gloria, sorry to interrupt you. Just slow down a bit for the translation, okay? So just take your time.
I'm so sorry. I'm trying not to pass the time.
It's okay. It's okay. Take your time. It's all right. Take your time.
So yeah. As I was mentioning, yeah, the TB2 was a little bit different from the other drones in the United States that were published from the US, from China or Israel, in the sense that they were cheaper, but at the same time, they were effective and successful in their operations, as we are going to discuss a little bit later. I don't want to go into many technical details about the Bayraktar TB2, but we can do so in the Q&A session. I would like to mention also some new drones or new projects that Turkey has been developing lately. In the sense that here is the case of Akıncı, which is another drone which is produced by Baykar, and it was delivered to Turkish armed forces last year. Indeed, this is considered a major milestone for Turkey in the sense that Akıncı is expected to have a great impact, considering that it is much sophisticated than TB2. It has a maximum takeoff weight of 6,000 kilograms. It can fly for 24 hours and in an altitude that is around 30,000, 40,000 feet. And it would not be wrong to argue that Akıncı indeed is the most advanced and sophisticated drone that is built by Turkey until now. But the producers, the owners of the company, also state that Akıncı drone indeed will be the most powerful and combat capable armed UAV in its own class in the world. So here maybe it has just been used a couple of weeks ago in northern Iraq, but maybe we will see in the following years, Akıncı will play a more decisive role than TB2 did in these last years. So at the same time, Turkey has the Turkish defense sector has also has included in its inventory, let's say, some loitering drones such as Kargu, Alpagu, or Togan. They have indeed drawn a lot of attention, especially in the case of Libya, as they can operate fully autonomously in a GPS-free environment. So by using the artificial intelligence, they are has not come to the fore of the international arena just with the production of the drones and their usage, but also with their exports. As I mentioned previously, they are more effective and they are more cheap. They are cheaper. So for this reason, many states have been requesting to buy or have already bought especially TB2 drones from Turkey. Among them, as we will see, it's Ukraine, Azerbaijan, and we have Qatar as well. We have Saudi Arabia that has shown interest in there. And Poland has bought drones. Kosovo maybe is another example. So indeed here it's important because previously we've seen experts, especially Western experts, stating that Turkey is just exporting these drones just to the Muslim countries, and they are not so successful, and the West is not so interested in these drones. However, especially with Poland buying the drones, or especially now after the Ukraine, we've seen much more interest even from the West coming from Turkish drones. So we see indeed that the Turkish drone have played a decisive role in this conflict, and how I can say have an impact on warfare itself. And Turkey is increasing its regional role as well. So to conclude this part of the lecture, I would like to point out three main reasons that led to Turkey to pursue the production of its own drone system. And indeed, I have a little bit mentioned them before, previously, shortly, but here I would like to conclude with saying three of them. So first of all is the PKK threat that Turkey is having in its own borders, inside and outside Turkey, in Syria and northern Iraq. So the continuing threat in there always put Turkey put pressure on Turkey to find a solution, an effective solution for this that would decrease the threat of PKK. At the same time, the West has failed to understand, especially the United States has failed to understand Turkey's security concerns regarding PKK, and we have seen United States supporting PKK for a long time now. And third and foremost, in the last years, in the last decade, maybe we can say, Turkey has been aiming to follow an autonomous foreign policy, meaning to be less dependent from outside or from states like United States. And in order to follow a foreign policy, Turkey sees that it needs independence also at some extent in its defense sector. So by creating this independence from outside, Turkey has increased the level of its autonomous foreign policy, and we can see it now in the regional affairs as well. So this was shortly kind of background on the Turkish drone industry and program, and I would like to go a little bit more in details on the way how Turkey has used, not Turkey, but how TB2, especially Turkish drones, have been used in battlefields, including here in Syria, Libya, in Nagorno-Karabakh, and lately in Ukraine. I will go a little bit more in details in the first one, because it is kind of a cornerstone, and it is decisive for the other conflicts as well. Turkey, the case of Syria and northern Iraq is where Turkey itself has used the drones in its counterterrorism and counter-insurgency operations. So in here, indeed, I would like to share a picture with you where you can see how the operations that Turkey has conducted against PKK in Syria and in northern Iraq. So in here, the green circular areas display the operations that are conducted fully with the armed drones, while the operations with the red show the operations that are supported by the armed drones. So in here you can see that the number of operations or the cases when the drones are used, especially in Syria and in North Iraq, surpasses approximately 200 operations, which indeed in here it proves us how important the drone program is for the counter operations in Turkey, counterterrorism operations in Turkey. So yeah, in this case, in the fight against PKK, what I would like to say is that Turkey has been undertaking these operations for decades now, but however, the inclusion of the drones in the last years have proved that to be very effective and successful. So these operations as well has been successful. Starting in 2016, indeed, Turkey declared a new counterterrorism strategy against PKK, which indeed would be focused in a more proactive operational model, rather than staying in a defensive position, because at that time, I'm not, maybe some of you may remember, PKK did a lot of terrorist attack, especially in Ankara. This new counterterrorism strategy would aim to prevent the potential PKK attacks, weaken the PKK organizationally, constrain its ability to undertake any attack later, and the most important, to achieve the field dominance in the regions where PKK is existing. In this, the four above mentioned objectives have somehow, in a high extent, I can say, been achieved thanks to the inclusion of the TB2s and the swarm drones, inclusion of these drones in the operations. If we would see like how these drones have been used in these operations, I can say that they have been used to identify and strike targets, acquire real-time and continuous surveillance, and also, most importantly, with a low financial cost and low risk for the Turkish military, Turkey was able to take the PKK under control at some extent. Drones have been used in several operations in northern Iraq, which have been dubbed as CLO, and some other operations that you most probably have heard about is the Operation Olive Branch, Operation Peace Spring, or Operation Spring Shield. Indeed, which the last one is the one that I would like to mention to focus more right now, because this operation started immediately after 30 Turkish citizens were killed by the Syrian forces. So at this time, in the Operation Spring Shield, Turkey used these drones in a full capacity. And indeed, many experts here considered this to be a conceptual breakthrough in the warfare. The reasons behind this were mainly related to the fact that drones were used in a large number simultaneously, both for artillery and for surveillance. And moreover, they were used in coordination with electromagnetic spectrum warfare technologies, artillery units, combat aircrafts, including here, for example, the rocket system and artillery batteries. And indeed, this level of cooperation that was seen in the Operation Spring Shield in Syria, it was not seen in a modern military operation before. So this is considered to be a breakthrough in the sense that it showed new ways the drones can be used in tactical and operation level with a large range of success and effectiveness in here. So after all these operations, so one may ask, how do you know that these drones have been effective or successful? Here's what we see generally in Turkey is that after the drones started to be used effectively in the warfare, several high cadre members of PKK have been killed. From 2015 onwards, the number of PKK terrorist attacks has decreased considerably. The PKK ability to recruit new members has been disrupted as well. And most importantly, the number of the terrorists within the Turkish territory has declined considerably as well. And it is around somewhere below 100, I think, right now. I would like to mention also that just last week, in April 2022, Turkey started the Operation Claw Lock in northern Iraq, and in there, Akıncı made its first flight in a major operation, and it was considered to be quite successful as well. So Akıncı and Bayraktar TB2 were both used in coordination with each other. So this is a little bit about Syrian case, and as I mentioned, we've seen the drone usage in Libya as well. I will not go too much in details about what the conflict in Libya was about, but rather I will just focus on the impact of the Turkish drones in the conflict. So in 2016, after Haftar's LNA bought the Chinese-made wing-long drones, the situation changed a little bit, not changed considerably, let's say, giving Haftar the upper hand in the conflict. However, when the Libyan government, the UN recognized government, the GNA, started to use the Turkish drones, which is the TB2 and the Anka-S drones, the situation changed considerably. At the same time, it is argued that the loiter drone cargo was used in the conflict as well. Indeed, the Turkish drones proved crucial for GNA to achieve the aerial supremacy, and as a result, it allowed the forces to take back and to end the LNA's Tripoli offensive in some sense. So the most important point for the Libya case that it needs to be emphasized, it is the fact that the Turkish drones, TB2 and Anka-S drones, proved to be resistant against the military and especially the jamming methods used by Libya, which were Russia and Chinese supported. And as a result, by being able to resist to these jamming methods, the Turkish drones were able to move freely in the area, and as a result, they diminished the LNA capacities. Indeed, as we will see also in Ukraine, it is important here to mention the fact that Turkey is one of the states that has a direct contact, military, even why indirect, it is a direct contact with the Russian military system, defense systems, as it's been in the case in Libya, or as we have seen in Ukraine as well. In the case of Karabakh, there was the 6-week conflict between Azerbaijan and Armenia over the territory of Nagorno-Karabakh, and this indeed brought some new prominence to the Turkish drone program. And I think this is when Turkish drones became even more spoken in the Western media as well. So by using Turkish support, Azerbaijan took some territory it had lost previously in the region. Mostly, Azerbaijan used Bayraktar TB2 drones and also as well Israeli kamikaze drones to overwhelm the Armenian defenses. And while not very clear, but it's estimated that Armenia has lost approximately 200 tanks, 90 armored vehicles, and 182 artillery pieces. So this is very important fact, considering that the TB2s in this conflict were used for reconnaissance, for targeting artillery and missilery units, and forming a complete picture of the operational situations. Indeed, here I'd like to state a quote from a report that was published about the case for the usage of the drones in the Karabakh War, and they stated that indeed the Turkish drones were decisive factor in the victory of Azerbaijan, and this is also this has been considered a strategic victory for Turkey, as they say that an example, for example, to prove this, it was that the targeted destruction of the air defense system that the Armenian air forces used during the battle for Azerbaijan's Khojaland was an example of excellent coordination of data from the drones. So this coordination that we saw previously, that we mentioned previously, also in Syria, has been used in Karabakh as well, and this, as seen, has proved to be a decisive factor in the victory of Azerbaijan. So the last case is Ukraine. Indeed, in here, Turkey has been one of the states that has been the most supportive, I can say, to Ukraine before the conflict started. While the West was a little bit hesitant on what to do and what to give to Ukraine, Turkey and Ukraine increased their defense cooperation. They signed several agreements, and especially the defense exports to Ukraine increased, especially in January 2022. It's not clear which weapons they were bought specifically, but it is believed that Ukraine has a considerable number of TB2 drones. And Ukraine ordered, in January of 2022, Ukraine ordered 16 TB2 drones, and they had previously bought approximately 20 drones before from Turkey. And in many cases, in the way how we follow the war in Ukraine, it is always mentioned the fact that Turkish drones have been very effective, even why some have stated that they have not been decisive in Ukraine's resistance right now, but nobody can argue on the fact that they have been quite effective, and they have helped Ukraine to resist to the Russian invasion. An example of this, maybe you have noticed it a couple of weeks ago. It was the Russian operation to target Russia's the Ukrainian operation to target Russia's missile cruiser Moskva, and it is believed that Turkish TB2 drones were used in order to distract the system, the Russian defense system, which it made possible for Ukraine to attack the missile cruiser. While this is not an official statement, it's just how can I say? These are just thoughts or statements from outside. We cannot, we have seen in many cases the effectiveness of the drones and its importance in the Ukraine warfare. So these are the 4 cases when we can summarize the success or the effectiveness of the Turkish drones. So I would like to go a little bit shortly on the way how it has impacted the Turkish role in the region and how it affects the regional stability and security. So as I mentioned previously, some argue that Turkey is following a drone diplomacy, both with the drone usage and the drone exports. It has turned out to be a game changer for Turkey and the region as well. So first of all, I would like to mention what I stated previously, that it is directed to the new perception of the Turkish foreign policy by having a strong, how can I say, by having a strong hand in its military or the defense sector. This has given the possibility to Turkey to have a more autonomous foreign policy, being independent at a large extent from the external actors and having their national interest at its core. At the same time, Turkey has revolutionized the existing military affairs, where most of the times they were dominated by the United States. Currently, we see Turkey pulling ahead of most other Western militaries in terms of its own armed drone capabilities. So By decreasing this military dependence on the other states, Turkey has become an example and an alternative, most importantly, for many states whose national interest have been threatened. In here, of course, you can keep in mind the case of Karabakh or the case of Ukraine, where especially at the beginning of the war, the US failed to provide the necessary support, but Turkey was there to give the support to these states. And in all of these cases, the Turkish drones have proved successful indeed, and the damage that they have caused to the adversary has been more than the damage that has been taken, which makes this quite crucial for us. Maybe you have seen that there are several news where they have shown that Turkish drones have been hit or have been unsuccessful. However, here the fact that when you weigh the damage that you have caused on the adversary and the damage that you have taken in there, the cause that has been caused to the adversary outweighs the other damages, if we were to summarize this, I would like to say that followed the drone usage and the drone exports as well have allowed Turkey to achieve kind of both a combination of hard and soft power, indeed, projection, which have made possible for Turkey to become a very important regional actor. Indeed, in one of his latest pieces, Fukuyama as well, when he was discussing about the Turkey's drone program, he said that the drones have done much to promote Turkey's rise as a regional power, especially in 2020. In this process, it has elevated itself to being a major regional power broker with more ability to shape outcomes than Russia, China, or the United States. So what we see in here is that by having a strong hand in its military aspect, in its defense sector, this has made possible for Turkey to sit in the tables alongside United States and Russia, something that was not previously allowed or possible for Turkey, considering that it was dependent from the outside actors. So if I would go a little bit speaking about the regional stability or the regional security, so despite the fact that Turkey has been increasing as a regional actor, there are concerns on the fact that the spread of these low-cost drones, the dissemination between states and especially non-state actors we have seen in many cases being used, will create a problem for the regional stability and the regional security. So what I can say here is that unfortunately drones are here to stay, and this reality is not going to change anymore. The United States has been using them for years. Israel has been using them for years as well, and now Turkey is using them. You cannot stop the spreading of these low-cost drones and their usage especially from the non-state actors. However, here it is very important the fact that who is using the drones. We've seen in many cases that United States as well in the Middle East has used them, and the collateral damage has been very high. The civilians have been targeted as well. So in my previous publications here, I have mentioned that drone itself, indeed, if used well and in an effective way, it is very precise and can decrease the collateral damage. But however, the state or the actor who uses it is very important. So in the case of the United States, we've seen a lot of civilians being killed. But for the case of Turkey, for example, we here see that Turkey is being very careful of not targeting civilians, but focusing just on terrorists. Regarding the dissemination of the drones, what I can say is that unfortunately, for the moment, there is not something that it's not something that we can stop, and it's not something related to Turkey. It's something related to the military, to the technology advancement, and its impact to the military. So at this point, it would go a little bit more in a theoretical discussion between the defense and attack. You know, at some point, the military technologies focus more on the attack and the development of the systems regarding to that. But after that, the defense system come to the fore, and most of the states focus on the defense system against the specific military systems. So in this case, maybe what we can do in here is that in order to stop the impact of the dissemination of the drones in the other non-state actors, we need we need to focus right now on some new defense systems, on how we can prevent the attacks or the attacks or the threat that's coming from these non-state actors. So Omar, I think this is all I have. I hope it's not been too long. I'm open to your questions as well right now. I cannot hear you.
I think I was on mute,
okay.
so
yeah.
Apologies for that. First, thank you so much, Gloria, for the fascinating overview. Lots of issues there, and lots of questions there, and lots of military, political, security, economic, and social implications there as well. I have lots of questions actually, but I'm just going to summarize 3, and then I have also lots of questions from participants and social media watchers. So I'm going to take some of them quickly. So if you want to note that would be great. Yeah. So well, the first round I'll abuse my position as the chair, and then go with a couple. So one is what we're seeing from UCAVs, unmanned combat aerial vehicles. Is this a strategic impact that will change the character of war? Or is this more of an operational and a tactical impact that may last some long, but it has only operational and tactical results? And from what I'm seeing so far, it's not just a TB2 to be fair, but it has like it has a mixed record. So I'll give an example from the ISIS case in Mosul. ISIS was the first armed actor, non-state clearly, to break the US air superiority that was established since 15th of April 1953 in the Korean War. Since then, the US fights two-dimensional, because the third dimension it controls, it has superiority. Whether in 1991 with Iraq, or 2003 Iraq, or 1999 with Serbia with the Yugoslav war, it had that superiority until ISIS, using drones, commercial, converted and modified, but mainly commercial, you can find them on the market, got for a certain amount of time in the Battle of Mosul, got under the air superiority of the US, under 3,500 feet. About 70 of them worked at one system in December 2016. 70 drones coordinating and pretty much put the liberation efforts to a halt in Mosul. So they had that. But also what you saw you mentioned, clearly there are many examples, but I think the most impactful was that in the Azerbaijan-Armenia war. Of course, Turkey says I wasn't involved, but we all know it was involved on multiple levels, on the air domain, space domain, cyber domain. But so what we saw there is they visually confirmed losses for the Armenian sides is over 80 T-72 tanks. This is the one that we saw, and done by TB2s. And it didn't matter. Two things did not matter. The camouflage, the CCWs, the camouflage concealments, and did not matter because the battlefield, it made the battlefield transparent. So you hide, you dig the tank, you cover it, you camouflage it, and it still sees it. 80 of those were destroyed, and clearly the whole concept that was a whole air defense doctrine that was developed mainly by the Soviets, but also partly by the Egyptians and the Syrians in the 1973 war, is that if you established your SAM umbrella, your anti-aircraft defense system umbrella, even by older system SA2 and SA3 and SA6, even by those, you can threaten the enemy air force, even if it was much more superior. That system was broken in Azerbaijan. I mean, the Israelis broke it partly in June 82, with the Syrians in Lebanon, but also it was broken completely by the Azeris, mainly using drones as well, because you send the drones, they light up their air defense systems, and then you send the drones that you want to lose, the modified ANTs, Antonov old biplanes, basically to light up the systems, and then the new drones, TB2s and Harops did it, takes out the air defense system after that, and then you have air superiority. So that dimension, I think it reaches a strategic part. So this is mainly the question. The other question is the countermeasures, because we know that the countermeasures were employed. It did not work against the TB2s and the Harop 2s, but it worked against other systems. So the Ukrainians can tell you the story from 2014 to 2022, the amount of drones that were taken, basically controlled, and then, pretty much controlled by the Russian forces and taken to the Russian side, Ukrainian drones, mainly Soviet-made ones. So the countermeasures sometimes work, not working so well, because from the original 20, Ukraine lost one of the TB2s. And then finally about the accuracy, because you mentioned using it in counterterrorism and counterinsurgency. I would take an issue with the US, supporting the BKK. This is a long debate, but in general, it is used as the Reapers and the Predators have done in terms of so-called decapitation strikes and so on and so forth. But the accuracy of these strikes are very controversial. Like by one, I mean the famous study, I think got it. It's a controversial study, I know, but it's about 17% accuracy in the Yemeni case, I think. So there is a big question mark there in terms of accuracy. And then actually, I'll stop here, but you mentioned the Moscow one, and it's quite fascinating. I did not know how much the TB2 was involved in that one, because that one, the Moscow has a triple layered, if not a quadruple layered air defense system. It has the long range, it has an S-300 system, Grumble on it. It has an OSA system, medium range, and it's quite effective. And it has also the AK-130, the 130 millimeter machine guns, which is a short range air defense system, and they're all very effective. They were tested before, and it still got them. And I'm not sure it's a Neptune, as the Ukrainians are claiming, because a Neptune is a let's say a replica of the KH-35, which is a replica of the Harpoon, a degraded replica of the Harpoon. So it's not a very effective weapon. So there's definitely more there, and you refer to the combined arms operation with the drone possible case. Okay, I'm going to stop here, and then I'm going to open the floor for questions, remarks. I have some from the social media. I think there are some hands there as well.
Can I respond to to some of your questions, if possible?
Okay. So take these.
Then
and then
we go. Yeah. So in terms of the, I think that, you know, the drone usage indeed, not only from Turkey, but also from the other states, it has a strategic impact in the nature of war. And, you know, I think that it has changed the warfare in a way that there is no way back. You know, I mentioned previously the drones are here to stay and we cannot undo them right now. What I see here, it is that drones are according to my opinion, you know, I will touch a little bit about the accuracy point in here. According to my opinion, indeed, drones are one of the most sophisticated weapons in the sense that they can discriminate in terms of the use of force. But however, the person or the state, the forces behind the use of the drone, they are the reason. They are those who decide whether they attack civilians or they don't. So when you take a decision, you know, the chain of command in drones, when somebody there decides that they have to attack, in the American cases, we have seen that they have attacked in several cases when they were not sure whether there was a person, a civilian, or there was a terrorist. You know, in the American case, there was they just attacked based on the pattern of behavior. If a person wear something, a robe like a terrorist would, or if they behaved like a terrorist would, then they considered them as a terrorist and gave themselves the right to attack them, despite the fact that maybe they would be normal civilians, you know. So in here, the accuracy, I think that there is accuracy, but there is a problem with the person behind the remote control, I can say. That is very important. In terms of the character of war, it is the fact that yes, it has changed. According to me, it has changed the character of war especially in two ways. In terms of the distinction and the proportionality, because by using these two, the drones has in some way decreased the civilian death and decrease the collateral damage. So by doing this, it has changed the character of warfare itself, you know. And this will continue for a long time. You stated for ISIS, for the ISIS case, you know, that's a very important cases, even for the United States, because it was so unexpected at that time. But this is related with the fact that I stated before, the non-state actors especially are using these commercial drones to do several attacks in there. And in this case, indeed, I can say that at that time, the United States was very unprepared. They were not expecting such an attack, you know. And that's why after that, I mentioned that also the fact that we have Turkey as well, or United States, all the other states have to focus more on the defense spectrum in here, how they can increase their defense against this type of attacks with commercial drones.
No one expected that attack, to be honest. 70 drones without even controlling one satellite. This is a bit.
Yeah. It was quite unexpected. For the countermeasures, I did not get the question right in there. Did you have a question, or you just gave
no, just a countermeasure, like when you see Soviet and other drones being dropped, while the TB2 losses are minimum. And to be fair, also the Harab 2 losses are minimum. But the Harab 2 is a kamikaze drone.
I told that kamikaze drone, it's there to be lost, you know. So it's that's not a big loss. But as I mentioned, you have to wait the damage that you cause to the adversary and the damage that you have. And of course, there have been TB2 drones that have been drowned or they have been hit. So we have seen that, but still the threat or the damage that they have caused to the other systems, especially to Russia or Pantsir system as well, you may know the case in there, has been quite high, and that is what matters for us right now.
Excellent. Okay, so now I have Dr. Muhannad Saloom and Dr. Ahmed Kaddoura. They have questions. So Dr. Muhannad, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Dr. Omar. Thank you very much, Gloria, for this, Dr. Gloria, for this great lecture. I have a question. I read somewhere that the operational range of Bayraktar drones is limited. They are controlled by a ground station instead of satellite communications. This means that they are likely they launch within range of Russian artillery and most certainly within the reach of Russian cruise missiles. How would you comment on this?
As I mentioned previously, I wanted to give some details about Bayraktar, but then I thought that we may discuss on Q&A section. So yeah, Bayraktar has a range of 150 kilometers, and this is a limited range, which they here in Turkey they are trying to extend this range with Akıncı and with TB3. So indeed, until now, it has not been proved to be such a big problem for TB2, because in many cases, as I mentioned, we've seen TB2s like jamming or how can I say, going through the Russian defense systems. So it's not been a very big problem right now for us. But of course, this limits the drone's effectiveness. And as I mentioned, we are trying, Turkey, the defense industry as well, is trying to improve that with Akıncı, which I'm not sure right now about but I think it's more than 300 kilometers for Akıncı, I guess.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Dr. Ahmed Kaddoura, please. Dr. Muhannad, you have something else?
I wanted to ask about the satellite-controlled VIS. Yes, Dr. Omar.
No, it's okay. She will note the question, but I'll have to take Dr. Ahmed if this is a new question. So
no, it's the same. It's just a comment because she didn't answer the question, my question. So
Can you repeat that, please?
So I asked about because the drones are controlled by a ground station instead of a satellite communications, which means that somebody is controlling these drones within the reach of artillery and cruise missiles of say in the Ukrainian case, the Russian artillery or cruise missiles. So how would this? I mean, do we have any cases where Russians were successful in targeting ground control stations?
Oh no, not that I have heard of that. Of course, like the TB2 has the ground stations, and they are located in different places. They were like that for Azerbaijan, and they are like now for Ukraine. But there is no attack on these locations, as far as I'm concerned.
This is Dr. Muhannad is deducing some lessons learned from 1973. When Sharon decided to cross over to the West Bank of the Canal Suez and then destroy the missile systems. The Israelis could not destroy them from the air because they were doing quite well. So he had to go himself with his units, with infantry, and destroy them in the actual site. Yeah. Anyway, Dr. Ahmed Kaddoura, please go ahead. تفضل.
Thank you, Gloria, for this thoughtful lecture, and thank you, Dr. Omar. Let me ask my questions in Arabic.
I have actually two questions regarding the drones and politics, the relations with the countries, Ukraine and Serbia. When it comes to Ukraine, Turkey handed Ukraine several drones, as you have said, before the war, and Ukraine is using the drones currently in the war with Russia. In March 2021, Turkey agreed to support Ukraine with another large maybe 48 drones. And the question is, did they give them the 48 drones after the war? Did Turkey give them to Ukraine? And there was a visit President Erdogan in February 2022, towards 2 months ago, to Kiev. He signed agreements. Did it include drones? And if it included drones, could they be given after the beginning of the war? And could Turkey take into account the relation with Russia and its current role as a mediator? The second question is relating to Serbia. Days ago, Serbia, the president of Serbia, asked President Erdogan for Turkish drones. According to Sabah Turkish newspaper, President Erdogan promised to look into it. So could Turkey sell these to Serbia, and Serbia could use them in the future against the Turkish interests in the Balkans if the leadership in Serbia change or anything unexpected happens? So this is a general question about the conditions. Does Turkey apply any conditions in terms of selling the drones? For instance, the United States has conditions. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Ahmad.
Can you answer these two questions? And then I'm going to take a round of questions from our participants online, and then you can note them down, okay? But just these two, because they're...
Of course, I will go.
They may need another lecture, these two questions, or these three questions.
I will go quickly on both of them. So in the case of Ukraine, there has been discussions that Turkey is going to give drones to them, but there is nothing officially right now that we know about Turkey giving drones to them. So I don't know. There is a high chance that we are going to give them drones during the war, and I don't know whether this will impact the negotiations table. I'm pretty sure that Russia is not very fond of this policy of Turkey, but Turkey at the same time is trying to keep a very diplomatic way through both channels and try to find some solution for the crisis. So yeah, that's that for Ukraine. For Serbia, Serbia is very it's been discussed very much here in Turkey, because a couple of months ago there was an agreement between Turkey and Kosovo, and now it was the case of Serbia. So I think it's highly discussed in here whether we should give drones to Serbia or not. And it's I think that if we give them, there will be some sort of conditionality in there for sure, because Balkans is a very, how can I say, very problematic region, and conflicts can come out at any time in there. So if we arm some of the Balkan states with drones there, that may be a problem in the future. So I think in this case, I'm not pretty sure whether they will give them to Serbia, but if they do so, I'm pretty sure that they will put some conditionality in there, especially in terms of their usage in the Balkans, or maybe they don't give the armed drones, but they can provide drones just for surveillance and reconnaissance, maybe. So these are some other possibilities that Turkey may try to find a middle way with Serbia in there. For the conditions, until now there are no conditions that I know, because the states that Turkey has exported drones have been very specific and have been generally it's how can I say, states that Turkey has had the same interests, that share common interests. So for now, there is no conditions that I know, but I think that in the future, Turkey is going to put some conditionalities in these agreements.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Now I'm going to take a round of questions. I'll start with the first maybe 6 very quickly, but you can select and choose and make it as brief as or as expansive as possible. So the first one, after the success of the Turkish drones proving themselves, did the commercial aspect dominate the drone industry more than the development of the more than the defensive side or the defense side? So that's one. Second one from this one was from Mohammed Siam. Second one is from Ali Hijazi. Do you think that the elections in 2023 will affect the progress and the success of the it's not showing of the Turkish defense industries if President Erdogan was not re-elected? Okay.
Okay.
Third one is from Muhammad Baqai, and here I'm going to ask for the translator's help because it's in Arabic. So السؤال الأول.
So the reduced cost of unmanned aerial vehicles, did they make the decision of the Turkish decision maker easier in order to use the foreign military strength? And is there analysis of the quantities of Bayraktar used in Ukraine? Yes, there is, says Omar, but you can repeat your answer because you already answered.
Looking at how the drones turned at the war in Yemen, do you have any comments on that, on basically drones impacting Yemen's warfare? And a fifth question, what is the future of the Turkish drones, and can Turkey lead the drone sector in the future? And the sixth and the final, that's a comment on the harpoons and the KH, but this is directed to now a question to your host about the jamming systems used in Libya, where the TB2 proved immune. I'm not sure. Okay, yeah. So about the jamming system in Libya.
I will go with the first one. So after the success of Turkish drones and the proving them, so did the commercial aspect dominate the Turkish drone series more than the development defense side? So when they mean the commercial aspect, I mean they speak about the exports in here, I think. In this case, I don't think that the commercial aspect dominated the drones industries, because like the commercial, the export of the drones is very connected to the political aspect, and if you don't have a strong developmental defense or a strong defense in the industry, then you will not have the possibility to export these drones or to have an upper hand in here. So for Turkey, there will always be the developmental phase, and producing strong and very effective drones will be always the prime goal, let's say. Do you think the elections in 2023 will affect the progress and the success of Turkish defense industries if President Erdogan is not re-elected? I would say, like, this, what I mentioned before, the autonomy in the foreign policy is a foreign policy which is generally said out loud by President Erdogan. If any of the other, we don't have an opposition right now, like a main opposition leader. How can I say, a presidential opposition right now? So I cannot say something specific for the other side, but in generally the opposition is not, how can I say, they are not very, they don't see in a bad eye the dependence on the United States. You know, they accept Turkish role being dependent on the US as it was a couple of years ago, and so they if they come to the power, maybe they will continue with the same policy. But what does this mean? This means that the Turkish defense industry then will start to lose its own importance, and the progress that it has had until these years, it will be affected. So coming to the question about what is the future of Turkish drones, and can Turkey lead in the drone sector in the future? So for as I mentioned previously, Turkey indeed has become one of the leading actors, and it's standing beside United States or Israel, which are some of the pioneers in this area, you know. And I think that if Turkey continues with the same pace of developments as they did in this last years, I see Turkey becoming a very important the Turkish defense industry coming to a very important level in the global affairs, you know. And also here, if I'm not wrong, for example, a couple of years ago, in 2002 or something like this, there were just 2 Turkish companies that were among the best companies in the world, you know, in the top 100 companies in the world. Now, in last year, there were 7 Turkish defense companies that were included in the top 100 defense companies in the world, which this shows the progress that Turkey has done in the last years, and I hope that this will keep up in the future as well. So can I the quantities of the quantities of the drones that were used in Ukraine, as I stated, there are at least 17 of the 17 of them, as far as I'm concerned, and there are other numbers. They have requested more, the 20 more drones, which I'm not sure whether they received them or not. So for Yemen, I don't want to comment on that, because that's it's a very complicated topic, and it's not especially my field of study. So for the jamming system used in Libya, it's mostly related with Panzer system. Because their TV2 was resistant and could in some way pass, how can I say, pass through the Panzer system, was and it was easier for them to operate in the airspace. So is there any question that I have missed?
No, I think that's you've got it all. I just on the Panzer system, it was repeated again in Azerbaijan, Armenia. It's
yes,
consistent,
yes.
And it's basically you see the radars moving, and still, you know, the drone. Actually, it was a Harop too. It was not the TB2. The interesting bit was filming what the Harop was doing.
Yeah,
so the Harop dived. You know, like just like the Stukas in World War, you know, a dive bomber. It dived, it did the dive, and then it saw it was targeting a a tank, basically T-72, well camouflaged. And then, this is what you referred to briefly: human in the loop, human on the loop, human out of the loop.
Yeah,
the human the human was in the loop, and then he was on the loop, and then he got in the loop because he decided I'm leaving the T-72. We'll kill it another day, but the Panzer is more dangerous and more expensive. So he switched, like literally switched. So that's precision. That's
this is what I mentioned previously. Like, yeah, drones are very precise indeed, but it's very important. Like
in addition to the precision, it's like the decision as well, because you have 7 seconds. If it dives, you have 7 seconds before it reaches the targets. So so basically, he did the decision in a split of a second, moved the drone.
Here comes, you know, this is another topic. Here comes the artificial intelligence, you know, and how important is this? And you know, as much as artificial intelligence is going to be incorporated in the drones, it will have even a greater impact on the warfare, you know, drones, because right now, as we know, they are most mostly controlled by the human, but with artificial intelligence, we will see another dimensions of the warfare, I think.
Excellent. All right. If there are no other questions, I will, let me check if there are no other questions. No, there are no other questions. Just a comment on the, I think the Neptunes and the Harpoons. There is a very, very interesting master's thesis in the Naval Postgraduate School on the Harpoon and its derivatives. And then later on, it's going to come out as a study by one of the colleagues. So to whoever is asking, he can check that. And because the amount of disinformations on YouTube and the simulations that popped up is just staggering, you know. These are more solid works by very diligent graduate students and forthcoming scholars. Okay, so I am going, if there is nothing else, I'm going to thank Gloria so much for the wealth of information and that focus. It's a new and evolving subject. It has major impact, probably strategic impacts, definitely operational and tactical impacts, and it will impact the region because the Middle East in general, as well as East Europe and the neighboring regions, and of course the world. Like Taiwan is even donating quadcopters now to Ukraine, you know, just in solidarity. And now Ukraine is developing the motors, I think, of the TB2s as well. So yes. They were licensed to do so. So it's an evolving issue, and it will have major impact, as I said, on the politics, economics, social, and also military and security of the region. So I'm going to stop here. Thank Gloria once again, and وأتحول للعربية. فقط أشكر الزملاء الأعزاء.
I would like to thank my dear colleagues, the Arab Center, and I would like to thank all attendees and participants through the different social media platforms. Thank you so much, and hopefully we will be able to meet again very soon. السلام عليكم. رمضان كريم.